Hey everyone, welcome here and glad to have you along. Did you know that I am now on Locals? Locals is an app where you can build community. Think of it like a modern day Facebook group. There you can get free content. I host morning coffees, some afternoon happy hours. You get tons of bonus content, discounts to programs and functions, and it's the best place to connect with me and the subscription box community as we continue to grow. All the videos are free to watch, and all you have to do is sign up on Locals. And the best place to do that is to download the Locals app and search for The Subscription Box Show or Eric Music, or you can go to the actual website, thesubscriptionboxshow.locals.com, and there you'll be able to sign up for free. Hope to see you there, and remember to check out our new YouTube channel, The Subscription Box Show. Cheers, and enjoy the show.
Hey,
how's it going?
good. How are you?
Good, it's Matthew.
Yes,
Good stuff. Are you calling in from LA today?
I am. Yes. Where are you located?
I'm in Canada, so I'm in central Canada. I don't know if you're familiar with, I'm not in a big city. I'm in a small town. I'm in rural
Okay.
Manitoba. So it's like
I have a friend in Calgary.
okay, so Calgary is about a 14-hour drive west from here.
All right.
It's not, but it's actually somewhat close. Like for us, like there's not many big cities around where we are. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny, I hear a country where I don't know a ton of the area. Like I know about Canada that Vancouver is on the west coast.
Yep.
Toronto's on the east coast, and then Calgary's somewhere in the middle. I've actually never been to Canada yet, and I want to go, but I have friends from overseas that have never been to the US, and they're like, "Oh yeah, are you near Cincinnati?" Right? And I'm like, "Not at all." You know,
Nope, not even close. Yeah.
they just know a city in the States.
Yeah, it's funny because everyone like oh yeah, I know this guy, and like I know my buddy's in Calgary. Like, do you know him? It's like no,
Not at all.
It's like,
Yeah.
no. Like I mean, it's a small country compared. Like actually, there's actually more people in in your state because are you from California? I think I read somewhere you're not. You're not.
No,
Like,
I'm actually from Cincinnati, from the Midwest.
okay, cool. But yeah, there's more people in California than all of Canada. Like, just put that in perspective. Like,
Wow, that's wild.
isn't it? Like in your state, there's more people. So I mean, I think we're around 37 million now. And I think you guys are
Oh,
right around that,
wow.
or a bit more, right?
And in terms of like landmass, though, you guys are not a whole lot different from us, right?
Yeah, I think it's the second biggest country after Russia. It's like Russia, Canada, or Canada, Russia. I think that depending on how like they take over some of those, whether Kazakhstan is part of it or whatever,
Yeah.
Belarus, like they come in and out. But yeah, we're a little bit bigger than the landmass in the States, but
Oh, wow.
similar.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a lot of empty, just a lot of bush. So
Yeah.
but anyways, thanks for doing this. We're actually live right now. So it's not live, but like this is part of the recording. So we're just gonna kind of get into it. So just for those who've never, I haven't formally introduced you, we're joined here today with Matthew Gallagher, CEO and founder of Watch Gang, the world's largest watch club in the world, or number one rated watch club. I'm sure you're the biggest anyways too, not just rated, but also just the number one watch club. So maybe just quickly give us a background on, on Watch Gang, how you found it. I mean, it's founded in 2016, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah. So I know I kind of did some background. So I've got a bunch of questions for you, and we're kind of just going to have a conversation. We'll talk about subscriptions and where you see them going maybe in the future. But first off, for those who never maybe heard of Watch Gang, tell us a little about your company.
Sure. So started it in 2016. I was a software engineer before, and then I worked in advertising. I didn't have like the ability to advertise my projects. I didn't have money to like hire agencies, so I had to figure that part of it out. And I was always kind of looking to create something on my own rather than just help grow other businesses, which is what I was really good at, I found. And my dad passed in 2016, and I got a watch from him, and it sort of got my wheels spinning about what it is that I wanted to create, and what I don't know if you'd want to say like what kind of legacy to leave behind or whatever, but it gave me the initial thought of maybe I can get into something in the watch space. And so I started doing research because I wanted whatever company I started to mean something, have a little passion behind it. Prior to that, my passion was just, well, how do I make money online? How do I, do anything that will sell at one day or just kind of generate a bunch of cash flow in the present. And so started doing research into watches, And what I saw was that there were a lot of brands out there that were undiscovered. And back in 2016, this is when, like, it's before MBMT sold to Movado. They were like a very large lifestyle brand. They were really good at advertising on Instagram and just kind of, if you've ever seen the ads where you've got like a dude's hand and a girl's hand and like she's leading him somewhere and you just see his watch in the frame, like they kind of pioneered all that. And they were really good at it. And before them, it was Daniel Wellington. They kind of created this new minimalistic like watch with a fabric NATO strap. And so there wasn't a ton out there that people knew about aside from like the big ones, Rolex and Omega,
Right.
and then these sort of influencer brands. But there were thousands of brands out there to be discovered. And so my idea was, what if I start a company based on the idea of curating watches from brands around the world? And then the hook would be that you could win a Rolex every Friday. And so, you know, I was losing money for a while because I'm giving away a Rolex every Friday. I have 100 members, you know, and I have 300 members. And so I remember early on, like in maybe 3 months after I started, the way that I would choose the Rolex winner was I would go live on like a Friday, like a live stream, and I have this wheel, and I would just have initials, like, or letters of the alphabet. I'd spin the wheel and it would land on J, and then that's the first letter of their first name, and then I would land it and it's N. And so at the point that I was doing that, up to that moment, I would only have one member, maybe, who would fit the JN initials. But on that day,
yeah, what if you have no winners then?
while I'm live, I found somebody. I'm like, Josh Noble, congratulations. You know, you won a Rolex. And then I'm like scrolling through and I'm like, shit. Okay. I also have like Jake Newell. And then I looked, I have 6 people with JN. And I'm like live on camera. So I have to make this decision in the moment. And I'm like, everything's running through my head at that moment. I'm like, what kind of founder, what kind of operator am I going to be here? I'm either going to renege on what I said and spin it again and hopefully find one person, or I can lose a bunch of money today and do something epic. And so I gave a Rolex to every single JN member that I had. And it was six guys.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, that's just I don't know if I told that story ever online or in an interview or anything like that, but it was sort of for me like a defining moment in what I wanted to do with the company.
So what happened with that after? Like, did they like, was there publicity? Like, was there anything, or was it more like you thought this was going to be this epic thing, and then, oh shoot, it was also, I lost a ton of money and also crickets after the fact? Or was it?
It was mostly that.
I think
that, yeah, I'd say I imagined like, oh, this is going to like stand out. And to the members that were watching, maybe 1,000 people total were watching that. Like, it stood out to them, and maybe they became bigger fans of the brand and more loyal to the brand. I got no publicity. I'm really bad at publicity for some reason. I just don't prioritize it. It's something that I'm trying to get better at. Promote, like, you know, myself as a founder, promote the brand and what we stand for. But I was always of the mindset, like, you know, if you build it, they will come. If it's a good brand, they will figure it out. But I'm realizing more and more, like, the people that do get a lot of publicity, they have generally publicists. They are pushing for that, and so I'm sort of, you know, I'm coming around to the idea.
Well, you're doing a lot of great things, obviously. Like, your company's doing extremely well, 300 million in sales, I think I saw, or something crazy like that. Like, I mean, so you guys are figuring it out. Would you consider yourself a subscription box company, or what do you coin yourself when someone says, what's Watch Gang?
The easiest way to describe it used to be just a watch of the month club.
Okay.
Because it sort of tells people what we do, but I think because it's a watch, the very first question we always get after saying that is, oh, it's like a rental, like you rent the watches.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the very first thing the majority of people will ask us. And so we even had to change our marketing and our landing pages. Like, you keep the watch, like it says, you keep every watch. This is in all of our marketing now because it's the top question that we get from new members. And
So
potential members.
is there a lot of like watch rental things where you can rent a watch? Is that a
There
thing?
was there was one company that was doing, it was called 11 James. They were doing rentals of like Rolexes. You pay $200 or $300 a month and you get to rent a Rolex. And then I think the part of the money goes towards the purchase, but I think it was probably wrought with fraud. They probably lost a lot of money on people stealing the watches, maybe under false identities or whatever, and
No.
they went under.
Oh, it
So
sucks.
yeah, our business model is simply buy watches for less money than we're selling them for, and you know, in the subscription, the goal is get people a deal while we also are able to make money. So if we buy enough watches, we can get them at certain prices, and then we're able to profit, you know, after selling them to customers who, when they get them in their subscription, they're still getting them less than the brand would be selling it online. And so everybody wins in that scenario. And then the brand, generally, they're able to get some advertising out of it, depending on what it is their goal is.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. I was just going through your site and it's an interesting journey because it kind of brings you through, maybe I'll do a screen share and I'll kind of like, just share this for the people here because it was neat. So if they're watching this on YouTube, you can do that, folks. Okay. So actually here, I'm going to kind of like X out because I was like kind of going through the whole thing here. See, it already knows all my, so let's bring it back. So let's talk about offers since we're doing this. You can see this here, Matthew?
Yep.
Cool. So obviously your Rolex thing is a big thing. So first of all, like, how did you get connected with Rolex to do this? Like you obviously can't be paying their like, you know,
yeah, it's not a Rolex partnership. Because we're giving stuff away, it's not like, so an authorized dealer has a direct relationship with Rolex where they're selling their watches for retail price and they are, you know, sanctioned to do so. Generally, I think only in stores. I don't think anybody's allowed to sell Rolex online as a new watch, which is why you'll see when you go to any of the big watch sales companies, they're pre-owned or they'll say like unworn, but they're not allowed to say new Rolex. It's just it's a thing that's considered gray market. Our Rolexes are just, they're winnable. So we work with an authorized dealer, buy our Rolexes from that guy, and then our members win those Rolexes.
Okay. Interesting. Well, yeah. I mean, Rolex, they're not that. I'm just asking because they're not cheap. So
no. And you know, I was calculating the amount of Rolexes we've given away now and where the market is at this moment. It's bananas, the value of the watches that we've given away. We probably would be in a better spot if we bought all those watches and just held them instead of ran a watch company.
Really, as an investment?
I mean, it's wild. We've given away, I think, probably 200 to 300 Rolexes now.
That's
and
crazy.
The value of Rolex watches in general has doubled or tripled in the past several years. And so it's millions and millions of dollars of value. I remember on Cinco de Mayo in 2017, we gave away, I think it was a Coke bezel GMT.
A what? Sorry?
Coke bezel, like this is a Pepsi bezel. The blue and the red, this Rolex you have on screen.
Yeah.
Coke bezel's black and red. And I think it cost us like $5,000 or $6,000 for that watch. And it's like
insane.
A few months ago, it was worth $30,000. And so it's crazy what has happened with the watch market.
And it's strange, like as we're gonna get to this, folks. But I mean, I remember like people. When did I used to hear people say like the watch? No one's gonna be wearing watches in the future because everyone's got a cell phone. Do you remember that? Like people talking like that, and that was like, I'm not a huge watch guy. Like I have I don't know what this is. It's a Citizen Eco. What do you call it? Eco Drive. Yeah. So I mean, nothing crazy, right? But yeah, I always like having a watch on my wrist, and I've always like having something on my wrist. I noticed on your right wrist, you also have like some things on there. Like I always do something similar. Like I have so, but I just always like just checking my time or whatever.
Did your dad wear a watch?
He did.
Do you think maybe that's where you sort of get the feeling that you like wearing one, and maybe
that's a great question.
Growing up,
I've never thought of that before. That's a great question. Maybe because Dad, you know, and he was like, you know, poor farmer, so he would have like this, you know. I think you said that like you had a cast with your light on, right? In your stuff. He had something similar. It was always like these, and I still actually have. He passed away in 2017, so I still have his watch. I should go get it. It's like nothing fancy, but man, I always like he'd always like fix it. Sometimes he'd have these little tools. He put his glasses on, and he would like tinker with it and whatever. But
This is sort of like what I love about watches in general is that almost every time that I've seen somebody wearing a watch, there's some sort of romantic or sentimental story attached to it.
Yeah.
And it's just tradition. Dads pass watches down to sons.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's cool. And I have a buddy, then he became a huge watch guy. He buys like the cases and he has his watches on there. I'm actually going to forward him this after that. I'm like, I got to give this to Mikey, my buddy, Mikey. He for sure. And he's got I know he's going to fall for this. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So let's keep going through it. So win a Rolex, 20% off. I just thought it was a really cool. And I want to talk to you about an offer. So you don't do you guys have so this is the offer, right? It's like, if you sign up, you have a chance to win a Rolex.
Yeah.
And
so
you get
all of our
20%
members get a chance every Friday to win a Rolex.
Yeah. No thanks. No one would actually click that.
Well, this is because you don't have an account yet, or you have an account, but you don't have a subscription yet.
Oh, I see.
And so we're like, hey, use this ticket or this code, get 20% off if you sign up today off of your subscription. And you're saying, no, thanks. I don't want the 20% off. And so now this is basically giving you the ability to sign up with that discount code.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And I love how you always have the Trustpilot scores everywhere. And that's crucial for people who are watching. Like, you'll notice there's always a lot of credibility everywhere. And obviously, like, you didn't see my whole path. I should have done this live with people, because I was just kind of playing around with it before, just going through the customer journey. It's just really well done.
In the dashboard now.
Yeah, no.
you have to go to incognito mode or log out.
That's fine. Yeah, exactly. To bring me back to what it would have been. But check it out, people. Like, it's like the customer journey, like, kind of goes through like so I'll try to just describe it, right? So it says, like, what kind of person are you? And it gave me pictures. So, I had a musician and had a guy in looks like in some kind of nice little whiskey lounge. So I'm like, oh, I put the musician because I play music, and it's just, are you an outdoors guy, a lounge guy? Well, I'm like, I'm wearing my happy camper shirt. Of course I'm an outdoors guy. Yeah. I pick a banjo. So I'm like, I pick that, and it brings you then it curates it right for you. It says, it looks like you're I want to say Black Watch or
Black tier. Yeah.
Sorry.
The black tier. So we basically take what you're answering in the questionnaire, and based on your answers, recommend a plan for you.
100%. So then I just thought that was cool. It's like, perfect. And it asks like questions like, do you want to watch every month? Or you like, what kind of fan are you of watches? Like, I just want a couple. Okay. So I picked that. I just want a couple. I like watches, but I'm not going to be like Mikey, my buddy Mikey. Right. So then it never ends up, it ends up saying like, this is what you should be getting is this black tiered watch quarterly subscription at, whatever it was, $149.99 minus your 20% off. It was perfect. And then you're entered to win. So I just thought it was a really cool thing. It's a no brainer. Like, you just kind of go right through it, and you're almost like doing these micro commitments, right? So when you're getting to that point, you're there, you're not going to be going back. So
yeah, something that has worked for us with this survey is, aside from understanding our customers better, going through the path, you feeling more committed to the company, I think, and to the brand. When you go through and you're committing time and energy to answering these questions, at the end of it, and you're at the plan where you select, you're far more mentally committed to signing up than you would be if you just went from the homepage to, okay, select a plan. It's easier to bounce off of that. And as marketers, that's something that we have to understand about people.
Yeah. One thing I noticed, because I'm in Canada, I was paying shipping. Do you get free shipping in the States, or just you decide to just people pay for their shipping?
There is a coupon code for free shipping, but generally we charge for shipping.
Okay. May I ask, what's your, what's the thought process behind that? Do you guys have and what do you send it in? Like, is it like a watch box, or is it like a subscription box?
No, all the watches that we send come in the retail box, and so this is sort of what we battled with in the beginning. Actually, let me show you this. Hold on.
Sure. Second. Yeah. In the meantime, I'm going to show you my. In the meantime, Matthew, I'm just showing them my not so fancy Eco Drive. But it's like one of those, like, I'm hard on watches. I wear them all the time, and I do everything with them. So it had to be tough. And this one, actually, when I first got it, was like, I just remember how uncomfortably heavy it was and how stiff it was, but it's actually gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
But it's tough, man. This thing goes through everything. Awesome. And I just love the fact I'm lazy. I don't basically, if my battery dies, that's the end of that watch. So I like the fact that this one is powered by the sun.
So, yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I love Citizen. They actually are a partner of ours. So
Oh,
we
cool.
have several watch partners in watch brands that have partnered directly with us. Citizen's one of them, and always love them for that.
Yep.
Any brands that are large and they take a chance on a newer company. I think we partnered with them in like 2017 or 18.
So it would have been just brand new. Yeah. Yeah.
So we used to send in, this was our very first box. And this was literally the shipping box. This was what I put together. I have like a Bruce Lee quote on it. And it says, if you love life, don't waste time, for time is what life is made up of. And then, so this was our very first shipping box that I put together in about 4 minutes in my kitchen, because I had watch subscriptions that came in and I didn't have any watches or boxes or anything yet. I was just fleshing out the idea, and I start getting sales right away. And I was like, okay, there might be something to this. I should make a box. And then made these. I only bought 250 of them. So I had to kill marketing, source watches, pack these boxes in my kitchen, put all this stuff together. This was our second one, a little bit more sleek, smaller, better for shipping. It says, "Don't be a dick, recycle," on the box. So I was trying to like, okay, give it a little of our character. And what I found was that these were getting stolen. And so
The what? Sorry?
Our boxes were getting stolen from the mail. People would see that there's a watch inside.
I was going to ask you about that, because sometimes, anyways, keep going. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So it's like basically saying, hey, steal me. I have a watch inside of me. Like, just take me, postmaster or any random neighbor. So
it's lost. It was lost in the mail. Yeah.
So we had a lot of those that were lost, and we're not Amazon. We're a small company. And so when people would say like, it says delivered, I don't have it. We replace the package, and that sucks for us. We're feeling every single one of those, but like, I'm trying to create a company here that values our customers and gives the Amazon feel kind of, but it's hard. So we ultimately decided also, for resale value for our customers, when they get a watch in that box, if they don't like it and they want to sell it to somebody, nobody gives a damn about a Watch Gang box, but a lot of them would want the retail packaging the watch would have come in, with the warranty card and the manual, and some of them have very nice presentations.
Yeah. And
so we decided, okay, we're gonna ship original, actual branded watches in their boxes, and then we'll put that in a cardboard box or a poly bag, depending on like the weight of it and how it works out. And so that's the way that we deliver now. So going back to when you said, are we a subscription box? In the traditional sense, where you get like a box of goodies and stuff, it's really not what we are. It's something that I would like to work on in the future, to give a better unboxing experience, to maybe create something with the actual brands that create a better unboxing experience for our customers. But right now, you're getting a retail package,
Yeah. No, it's a great idea. Like, I think it's fantastic, and it's similar to like someone who would do like a sock club, right? Like, or something like that, a cigar club where you're sourcing out brand, or a beer of the month club, right? Like these kind of cool ideas where you're not manufacturing it, but you're distributing some cool ones from around the world or the country or whatever. And in that sense, and it's still a subscription based business, just maybe not in this sense of the box. But yeah, it's funny because we had this offer with like these free home cameras. We have a mom and baby box company, my wife and I, and we're like, oh, we'll just tape it together. We're trying to save on shipping, right? Because it's a home camera, which we kind of had it as a baby monitor. But same thing, we're like, nope, we're gonna have to put this in a bag or in a bigger box or something, because people are gonna steal it. Like people steal the boxes to begin with, right? So so that's why I was kind of curious about that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here, just in the beginning stages, because a lot of people who listen to the show, the subscription box show, are people who are in the idea stage or just launching, maybe pre-launch, maybe a year in, 2 in kind of thing, but most in the beginning stages. That's kind of the audience. So I'm curious here, in one of the and it's funny because so Joanna through Guestio is how I got connected with you. And I don't know if you know the founder of Guestio, if you've ever been on his show. Or so Travis Chappell, he's the guy who founded Guestio, and he was one of my business mentors. But anyways,
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So when I saw it come through Guestio, I'm like, oh, cool, because he started this like from scratch, right? So,
Nice.
Anyways, where was I going with this?
You and your wife had a box.
Oh yeah, no, that's not even that though. Oh, anyways, I totally lost my train. Oh, so in the beginning stages.
Oh yeah.
So in the beginning stages, I on the Guestio app, on one of the videos that I was watching, you're talking about how it was like it looked like it was like kind of rapid fire questions, and you mentioned in the beginning stages, how did you kind of get off the ground? And you said you had a friend with a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, like for the first round of funding, right? So just to fund the first round. Now, so 2-part question. For someone who doesn't have that, what's the best way for them to maybe get off the ground? And if they don't have that, how can they find that?
Okay. Well, my friend with a lot of money, he helped me once I was off the ground. And so
Okay.
if I hadn't gotten off the ground on my own, he loves me, but maybe not that much.
Yeah.
You so my first attempt at this was, so I kind of took the approach that I do with everything and in new businesses and launching. I am a huge fan of what you would call like dry testing. So I have purchased so many domain names, built so many websites, and spent so much money on testing to see if there's some sort of market fit. The difference with Watch Gang is that I got a sale before I ever spent $1 on marketing. I remember sitting at my computer and I'm like, business ideas. And I'm like, okay, let me go back to this watch one that I thought of. And I start thinking about, okay, domain name. I go to Namecheap, the Watch Club taken, Watch of the Month Club taken, Watch Gang available. I'm like, okay, .com is available, .net, .org, all of these are available. I'm like, great, bought them all. I'm like, okay, this is what I start with. They're $8 each, right? So you buy the domain names, and then I'm like, okay, subscription service software. Okay, well, there's Shopify, and it has a recharge component. What else? Oh, there's CrateJoy. CrateJoy is like $30 a month, low commitment for me. I don't even have to pay for it up front. So I create a free account there, and they have templates. I'm like, okay, I'll build this thing. So within an hour, I had a domain name, I had a website live that looked like crap, but it was something. I'm like, all right, well, this tells enough of what it is that I'm trying to do. Now I need an Instagram to, show off watches and stuff. So create an Instagram with stock images for the first couple posts. The next day, I get a notification on my phone through email that I have an order. I was like, that's interesting. Is this fake? And I remember the guy's name is Chris Johnson, somebody that found our Instagram, liked the idea, went to the website and bought a subscription. And I was like, okay, this has never happened before to me. I've always had to spend money to get eyeballs on it.
That's right.
And, the very first order came in, I hadn't spent anything. Let me throw some ad dollars behind this. And when I say that, like, we're talking $10 a day, right? Yeah. Maybe 50.
Facebook ads?
Yeah, Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And I started getting sales. My CAC was like $5 or $6 and on a $30 a month subscription. And so by the end of the week, I had like 100 subscribers. And I was thinking how like amazing this was, the traction already. I don't even have a watch to sell these people yet. I was just like, I have a website. That's all. I don't have connections in the watch industry. I was always thinking to myself, well, that part I'll figure out. Like if it can be done, I'll be the one I'll do it. I'll figure it out. So yeah, I think when I took my friend Harry's money, it was 2 months after I started. Sorry, my kids have cats and they are wild animals.
It's all good. I've got a massive thunderstorm here today. So it's like thunder was like this morning I was doing this live thing. And it was like thunder and lightning. Yeah.
So when Harry invested, we had like almost 2,000 customers already in like month 2. And that I was still packing this stuff in my kitchen. And then I had my friends come over and help me with the other boxes. And I was like handwriting notes to people. Thanks for taking a chance on Watch Gang. Like, let me know your feedback. I'm listening to everything and all the stuff that you do when you start. So that's how I got off the ground. I was working 20 hours a day for 2 months before I took any funding. And it was because I proved out the concept. And I was like, hey, buddy, if you want to put money in, now's the time because I'm willing to take it. Next month, I might not be willing to take it. And, we laugh about it, but he wanted it in. So he did. And when he did put that in, I also negotiated that within 1 year, I could buy back half of what he puts in because I did believe in it so much.
Was it an equity based deal? Kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Straight equity.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have a Harry, if I didn't have a Harry at that time, I would have just kept doing what I was doing. I did need, I mean, obviously every new business needs starting capital. If I had no money, which I had a little money from my advertising days to put into it, probably I got from zero to those first 1,000 or 2,000 customers for like 25 or 30 grand of my money that I invested in. If I didn't have that, I would have just grown a lot more slowly. Trust me, I grew up in a trailer park. I've had no money at all. I've had less than no money. And I was still starting businesses for what could I do for $5? What can I do for $10? I'll save. And instead of buying a flip phone, I'm going to buy this domain name and try to create a website. So it's all a matter of perspective and where you are in life, but it should be relative to that situation.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I love that. And I think you don't come from like money, like you would say, right? I just noticed.
No.
Sorry, I totally got distracted. I just noticed your name on the screen says Taylor Swift.
Shit. It still says that. I keep forgetting to change that. That's well, funny. I'm a big fan. No, my daughter was man. I keep meaning to change it. I always forget. Every time I end a meeting and somebody comments on it, I'm like, I gotta remember to change that. My daughter was pranking her friends on Zoom during like the COVID lockdown, when they were all in school, like on Zoom classes.
Yeah.
And she's like, I want to prank my friends. What can I do? And I'm like, well, tell me something about your friends. And she told me one of them loves Taylor Swift. I'm like, okay, I'm going to change my name to Taylor Swift. And I'm going to have a video of Taylor Swift running like an interview style.
Oh my goodness.
You know how you can set like video backgrounds?
Yeah.
So we just set the video background, got out of the way, and then joined her Zoom call. And then the girls freak out because Taylor Swift is in front of them, and not like on a concert. Like she's sitting here, like having this dialogue. Joke was over in like 5 minutes, and I still have the freaking Taylor Swift name on my.
That's funny. I hope that was recorded. That would have been gold. Yeah.
yeah. We can record that.
Cool. Okay, so entrepreneurship in general, like I think you're pretty passionate about it. I've heard you speak on it. I don't know if there's anything you want to touch on, like just like. Is there something like a trend maybe you're seeing now when it comes to memberships, subscriptions, and not just boxes, like but a club, even if it's like, someone has a whatever, something at the club, month of the club, anything when it comes to entrepreneurships that you've learned through maybe your background in software engineering or your background in advertising that you could, if someone doesn't have any of those, they're coming in cold. And again, I'm just going back to like someone who's like, terrified to start, their journey in entrepreneurship, where their mindset should be at, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I've seen some people hang on way too long to an idea that's just not going to work out because they're too invested or too passionate about it. I think maybe some advice you hear a lot is follow your passion and whatever, but I don't think that's necessarily always the best idea. I wasn't passionate about watches when I started the company. I got passionate about it. And what I was passionate about was creating and selling. And you look at the majority of people out there that are succeeding, I don't think they started with a passion, like I think it's very rare that you see a Subway owner passionate about sandwiches or, a guy that's selling concrete, passionate about concrete. Not really. A lot of times they fall into this stuff or they just have a knack for something and they find their place and then they become successful. So if it's money you're after and you're passionate about success in general, we'll just find what people want, test and give up on the idea if it's not working and move on to something else. That's personally it's just what has worked for me. There's some saying about like how icebergs are like founders or whatever, like you see the tip as the success, but all the failures are buried underneath that you don't see. Same probably for you, for everybody else, like for sure. That has had some semblance of success where you don't know about all the failures. I've started 100 different brands and companies that have gone nowhere, and it's just, you have to be willing to give up on the dog and, put your money in something else or your time in something else. Not everything needs, to be created.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is there any then red flags? Like if you've had these many failings, it's kind of like the Thomas Edison thing, right? Where it's like, how many failures did he have until he created the light bulb? I think it was,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, so is there any like kind of red flags when it comes to like modern day entrepreneurship that you would say like, listen, man, like if this is happening, like, this could be a red flag. Not that someone has to kill the business, but like just, things to be aware of, that it's just taking too long maybe, or whatever, that you could kind of help point people maybe that have been hanging on, like you said, for too long.
Well, I think that it's very rare the company that struggles and then finds traction and success later, like it gets easier. It generally does not get easier. As you scale, it's more expensive to find more customers. Generally, like that's the rule of thumb. And so you should be finding some traction early. You should find some interest early. And if you don't have the money to advertise, there are a lot of free ways to get your name out there and your brand out there. It's boring and slow, but like for people to complain that they just don't have money to invest in it, that's not an excuse. I never had money and I figured it out, and there's always a way. So Instagram is free. Create an Instagram for your brand and tag people and follow people and send DMs and hashtags and figure it out. TikTok was not around when I started the company. There are so many free ways to get your name out there and your idea out there. Find some traction early, and then flesh it out and see if it's a good idea to scale. That would be my advice. And if it has legs, you'll know it pretty early, I think. And then you'll have people interested in investing their own money in your idea because you've done the work to prove it out. I think what I've seen investors not really love is when, unless you have a great team, you're not going to get seed money. Not generally, right? If you've founded 5 companies and you had an exit and you have a team and advisors that were on, the board of Facebook or something, yeah, you'll get seed money for an idea. But if you're nobody and this is your first go and you have a seed idea and you want somebody to put their money into your idea before you've even done work to flesh it out, they're not going to take you seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. Your best bet then would be to go for like these grant applications maybe, or even like these contests you have, like, Dragon's Den here in Canada or Shark Tank kind of show. And it doesn't have to be that big. I'm sure, interstate, there's probably things like that with your, maybe try that as well. So I got a couple of follow-up questions on this. When it comes to something like that, if someone wanted to go that route, is there like valuation techniques people can do? Let's say they've been around for a year or two or whatever, and they're like, I just need some money to get this thing really blown up or whatever. Is there like some kind of way, like a good way where you'd say this is the best way to evaluate your company?
Yeah. I mean, I invest in companies now that I'm 6 years into this, and
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah. So when I look at companies, either the team is great, which is, I mean, early on, I did the Rands in like Sandhill. I went to the Valley. I tried to raise money. I met with like Andreessen Horowitz and huge VCs that fund everything. And I never closed a round. I went through 6 months of this. And I mean, I got to the point where I was like, okay, this is just not the right business for VC funding in its current form. And that's okay. And personally, I'm gonna go through that one day, maybe not with WatchGang, maybe with something else, because I just want to know what that's like to take institutional money and what comes with that. I see companies like the 11 James one that we talked about, the rental.
Yeah,
it took $40 million like 8 months before they became insolvent and they went bankrupt. I have raised $1 million, and we've done like hundreds of millions of dollars in sales off of that. And then you have companies that have raised like $300 million and went bankrupt. I'm like, do you know what I would do with a tenth of that?
Yeah.
So I was a little demoralized in the beginning without getting funding, but I'm like, let's just keep it going. Let's do what we're good at. And, we use creative debt solutions to grow, like Clearbank or Clearco and stuff like that. But back to your question, I would look at, okay, how's the team? If they're not experienced in running businesses and starting businesses, what have they proven that they can do? It would be the same approach that I took when I hired people at my company. Do they have aptitude? I didn't hire anybody that knew anything about watches or fulfillment or customer service. I just hired friends first, and then people that I felt like they had an aptitude. They can learn this. At some point, any person that's an expert didn't know, and then they gained experience and they learned it. So I put all my people on the job. I'm like, figure this out. I was doing every single one of these jobs in the beginning, and then I I hired customer service, and then I hired somebody to look at fraud. And then like there are things that you'll figure out on the job. And that's what I wanted to look for. So I would say I'm looking for people or companies that have figured stuff out and they got a little traction, and they're not just looking for the easiest way to find success. But yeah, I mean, if it's not like sales that you measure success with in your company, how big is your mailing list? What's the open rate and the click rate? Are people actually interested? What does your Instagram look like? Are these potential customers later on? You don't have to spend money to see if people are interested in your idea. There are so many free apps that you can put up to generate a mailing list. It's free for somebody to come to your website and put their email in. So if you can't get emails that show people are interested, there's no way they're going to spend their money on your product. Yeah. There are lots of ways to identify, success in the beginning.
Yeah, and yours with the Rolex, I'm sure is a massive, like, from the traction coming in, right? Like a lot of people.
I mean, that was such a good hook for me in the beginning. Yeah. That's probably what kept us going. And it's interesting. There's always going to be a percentage of people that are signing up for that reason.
Do people assume it's a fake Rolex?
We used to get that all the time, but now we've given away so many. Like you can search it on YouTube and see people unboxing their Rolexes.
Must be crazy when they win, like the reaction, right? Like,
yeah, it's wild. We had a guy win a Daytona last year, and I sent my COO to was it in DC? I think it was DC. We flew him to DC to hand deliver it to this guy, and yeah, I mean, we used to get that all the time. They're like, "Oh, these must be fakes," and I'm like,
"The full X,
so fast." Yeah, the full X.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to believe almost, right? It's like as if like someone every Friday. And what's the other one? There's another one I saw every Tuesday. And I might mispronounce it. Okay, I was gonna say, yeah, okay.
Yep, we give away a Tag Heuer every Tuesday as well.
Yeah, those are nice watches too. It's crazy. Yeah. Well, good on you guys. Well, yeah. So the email list. Yeah, I mean, the name. Going back to the name. Do you think the name is huge to make it final? Because you said in the beginning, if you would have had some kind of like, hidden name, like that wasn't the name watch in it, do you think it would have had that organic sale?
Maybe not. I mean, unless the person found our Instagram and like they got it. But I think the name is very important. For us, Watch Gang sort of set the tone for how we are as a company. I address people as gang, and when I email them, I'm like, "Hey, gang," and
yeah,
I think that partially being called Watch Gang and the approach that we've taken, we have attracted a certain type of customer that isn't like your high-end watch consumer. We're not getting people that are saving up to buy a Rolex next month from like Hodinkee or some like a very large and sophisticated like watch content and e-commerce store. Generally speaking, our customers are first-time watch buyers or like very early on. And so I look at it as our duty to educate watch consumers, get them watches that they wouldn't have heard about or know about. Like a lot of people don't know what a chronograph is. They don't know the difference between an automatic watch and a quartz watch or a solar watch. And so I look at it as, let's educate people. We're creating the next generation of watch lovers. Mm-hmm. People that wouldn't have had a watch before, they don't care about it. They don't know why you'd wear this watch to a wedding and this watch to the beach. So we're educating people and then turning them into one day buying from probably like Hodinkee or something like that. We don't have super high-end watches that we're selling because we're pretty tight with what we do. We know what we want to do. And the whole gang experience is sort of like, it plays into that. If we were just called 11 James, for instance, I guarantee you that founder was like, this sounds sophisticated. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah. He's just like 11 James. Yeah, that sounds good. .com. You would have never have any idea what that means, right, unless you actually like read the ads and then go to the website. So I do think the name is important. If it's sort of obscure, like Hodinkee is a good example. Hodinkee, nobody knows what that means unless you do research on it or unless you read the about page or like I think it means watch or horology in another language. So when you hear that, then it clicks and then it makes sense and then you move on with your life and you don't have to think, oh, why did they name it this? Yeah. So as long as there's some sense to it, if it's not going to be off the bat understood, then go for it. And it should be catchy and try to get the .com.
Yeah, no, for sure. And at the same time, like if you got the .com reserved, make sure the Instagram is also available, right? Because keeping absolutely. It kind of like all in sync that way. Yeah. Well, the last thing I was just asking was on your pricing. There's got to be a sweet spot there for the pricing, right? Like, so how did you guys fall in the pricing? Did you had to do, was there some mistakes in the beginning, maybe underpricing? Because you mentioned before was what, 30,
It used to be 29.
yeah.
We
How's
had
that even?
we had one membership. It was $29 a month.
Yeah.
And we were getting so many sales there, and we had people they're like, hey, this is a great idea. I would like higher end watches, because for
Well, yeah,
$30,
because
you're
what kind
not
of
going
watch
to
are you
get,
getting? Yeah.
yeah, you're getting like a Fossil, a So and Co, like fashion watches. They're generally like, they're good for beginners, and you're never going to get an automatic movement unless it's like made in China, which tends to be frowned upon in the watch industry. So we introduced the black tier, which was $99. And then a few months later, the platinum tier for $399. And the pricing kind of follows that psychological pricing model that you see everywhere. Like, you don't go 20, you don't go 30, you go 29. You don't go 100, you go 99, because there's a psychological element to it. When somebody's like, well, that's $100. Like, I'm not, oh, that's $99. Okay, I'll buy
I know
that.
it's weird. Isn't that strange? Eh?
It is. And we didn't do I think it's a little hacky to go 99.99. Yeah, it's like, I'm not selling a used mattress, like, get it now. So we just went 99, 29, and $399. Now we actually raised our prices for the first time in 6 years, and it blows to have to do that. But I mean, in 6 years, people have been getting those watches for the same price, and our costs have absolutely gone up
For
a
sure.
lot. And especially now, it's like with everything, like the cost to ship, the COVID price hikes, like the recession, or whatever, like you want to call it, marketing, everything's up. So we raise prices, which it totally destroys your CAC and your conversion rate, but you tend to get a customer that can afford it, so they probably stay on longer.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I'm just going to quickly check one thing here, because I had posted if there was any questions here for you. Just give me 2 seconds here.
Sure.
Oh, I'm in the wrong place here. Yeah, no, there's no questions on this one. So yeah, that's all I've got. Unless there's anything else you want to add to the whole membership. Maybe I just have one last final parting question would be like for trends. Like, do you see any kind of trends? And the reason I asked that is because I was doing this fun thing through our locals community where I kind of went through like some of the top winners from the Cube Awards, from the Sub to Cube Awards that won, and what they're doing for offers now. Because before it used to be like, give this incredible offer, and people, and you get them to stick around, commit to 6 or 12 months. But I think I'm like, I got this feeling that things are changing where there's like no offer. People just want to be able to cancel any time, especially with inflation and everything going on. So where are they putting the offer and how are they doing it? And this is what I found is that most people's offers now is in that pop-up email. They just want to get the email, and they're putting, no longer do you see like the 10% off, but they're going with that aggressive, for you, it's like the Rolex and the 20%. But most of them are doing almost like to a T, the 13. There was, I think 10 out of the 13 had the pop-up come up saying 50% off when you sign up to this email in your first box, where usually you would see, 10% off if you sign up to my email newsletter. And then on the main page would say, sign up and get 50% off your first box. So I'm just curious if you got any ideas on like trends or what you see in the membership subscription business for 2022 going on.
Yeah, I think that specifically when it comes to a subscription box, brands are relying on stickiness. They're relying on renewals, and they can afford to lose money on their first box, because
for sure
you're going to keep 60 to 80% of those customers the next month, and then the next month, and then like it levels off to a point where you know what your lifetime value is of a customer. Yep. So they just calculate that, and the first box is getting more and more discounted because marketing is so freaking expensive right now. Mm-hmm. It's impossibly expensive, and so the easiest thing to do is this race to the bottom. Like, how can I acquire a customer? Well, the customer doesn't want to pay so much, so let me lower the price and lower the price. And it's a unfortunate trend, because it speaks to where we are in the economy and what people are waiting for. But what I'm seeing on the inverse of that is that the people not impacted by high gas prices, for instance, they have more money to spend, and they care more about branding. They care more about the sophistication of the brand and like who else is wearing it? How does it appear online? What does it look like? The second you discount your item as a leading offer, and it's something that we're battling with as well. That's why you'll see 20, but we don't go lower than that as the first approach, because it lowers the value of what you're selling, and it's the easiest way to gain the wrong customer and alienate the right customer. So if you button up your branding and your polished brand and you have something that people actually want, it might take more touch points to get that customer to commit and buy. But I mean, just like I raised my prices, it was out of necessity, but it's also looking forward. Like, I need to get a different type of consumer in the door, because back in 2008, during the housing crisis and the recession, luxury watches went up. Like, the sales of those watches went up. And the reason for that is because people always make money when some people are losing money. And if you're selling an item that's low price, or it's not a necessity or a consumable or something like that, you're going to suffer in a recession. So you need to be looking forward to who can afford the product and who can stick with me during the bad times. And if the first thing you do is lower the price, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a great point. And I think the point you made with the example of the 2008, that's a fantastic point that I would have never kind of correlated. So thanks for sharing that. I guess just one last follow-up question would be, when it comes to just the advertising. So with that, with the algorithm changes, with the iOS 14, blah, blah, blah. And you mentioned impossibly hard to get a customer through the advertising ways. Like, how are you guys going about it? Are you kind of taking a different approach? Your background has advertising in it. Yeah. So just curious on your thoughts on paid ads.
Yeah, I mean, it used to, I got so spoiled in the past, and now I'm like, let me go back and
$5 CAC,
$10 million in a month. Like, if I could get the CAC of 2018, I would, I'd be Jeff Bezos right now. It's wild how much marketing has increased in cost. Like, overnight, when the iOS 14 update went through, you could see, like, we were looking at the trends of our sales, and we're just like, rocket ship, it's going. And then overnight, our costs doubled, and then they tripled, and we're getting the same customers for 2 or 3 times what we were paying a week ago.
Yeah,
it was crazy. And a third of the population didn't just get raptured or die. Like, they are still there. We just can't reach them so effectively. And so we had to come up with ways. Like, it's been almost like a year now that this has been going on. Our sales have not gotten back to where they were a year ago. Like, a little over a year ago, we were sponsoring, like, we were the head sponsor of the Conor McGregor fight in the UFC. Like, we were balling.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah, crazy.
We spent so much money on that, and we were getting customers. And now their costs have gone up because they know that they are more valuable because of what's happened with iOS 14. And we're on freaking billboards and TV now. It's wild. Like, we're taking advertising back from the 80s, and we're putting it into today's ad dollars. And
I love it.
It's funny because we actually get as many sales from TV commercials as we do on Facebook now. So
interesting. So is there like a time where you're like, okay, my customer, I need to have this time slot? Like, how do you figure that out?
We work with a company called Tatari, and they help us a lot with that. They kind of manage it, and they help us, like, choose the placements and what channels and time frames and stuff. But yeah, man, I never would have thought that we would be doing that. That I'm getting as many sales from a billboard on Ventura Boulevard as, like, this Facebook campaign. But like I said, I test everything. So anything that I can do to maintain or grow, I'm going to figure it out, and my team will figure it out. We've got a great group of marketers that work for us. And like the billboard that we did, it was literally a huge QR code, and like this, right? And it's like, scan this to win this. And I looked at it as, it's costing me $2 a click right now on Facebook to get people to the door. That billboard, I was getting, when you amortize the cost of the billboard over the 6 weeks that I let it run, I was getting clicks for $1. Like, it cost me about $1 every time somebody would scan that QR code.
Interesting.
And the conversion rate on that, it's interesting, not necessarily for sales, but for email signups, it was like 90% of the people that scan the QR code would put their email address in because they're interested. So I was able to remarket to those people. It's a longer tail. I send them emails and then send them an offer, and then we eventually convert some. But yeah, you have to always be testing.
Cool. So the billboard was a promo. So you were using your promo as the billboard then?
Yeah.
Do you do the same thing with your paid ads? Use usually the promo that's going on?
It depends on where we are in the funnel. Very top of funnel, and we're just introducing the brand. It's like, here's what we are and why it's cool. Here's what people have said about us. And then when we remarket, then it's sort of like, okay, also you can win a Rolex, or also there's this, and this, like these benefits.
That should get them in, on your retargeting campaigns. Yeah, cool. Hey man, well, this has been great and a ton of fun to do and to get to know you and the brand. And it's funny because now you remember seeing Watch Gang with the Conor McGregor stuff. So that's cool. Yeah. Ballers. Yeah, that's cool.
Not doing that this year. We got to tighten the ship.
That's funny. Okay. Well, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate your time. And I'm going to let you know when this goes live and all that. But just really appreciate your time. I know how much it's worth for someone as busy as you are, and sharing your nuggets of your gold nuggets of success and habits and everything else has been really fun to do and to explore. So I'm sure people will appreciate this. So thanks for doing this. Appreciate your time, and we'll hope to talk again soon.
Thanks a lot. Good to speak.
Take care. Cheers.
Bye.